Howdy folks, Chris Greer here with Rigid Global Buildings. I'm here today to talk to you about insulating your flex building. I get asked this question a lot of times. Everybody wants to know what's the minimum you need to put in the building to have it insulated properly. Well, if you're in the county, sometimes you don't have to put anything in there. There's no requirements from the county. But even still, you're going to want the most basic insulation, at least in the roof. On spring mornings, after a warm day, you'll have the air inside the building will be warmer than the air outside. When that happens, you get condensation on the bottom of the roof, and it'll drip on people's equipment and tools and all of that. So you need something. The most basic insulation would be 3-inch vinyl back fiberglass insulation. Once the building is erected and all the frame is put in place, this insulation is rolled over the top of the frame, and the roof panels and the wall panels pinch it into place. It comes in 3-inch, 4-inch, 6-inch as the most common sizes. 3-inch is about 75 cents a square foot. 6-inch is about $1.25 a square foot. So the delta on a 10,000 square foot flex building to go from 3-inch to 6-inch would be about $10,000. You may want to have a higher level of insulation in a building because that's the way you market it. Maybe your spaces are a little bit smaller and your tenants are all going to air condition their entire space, and you want to show that you have put every effort forward to insulate the building to the best it can be done. You can go with the higher insulation. Once you get into the city's going to have their own requirements. Most of those requirements are going to be IECC or ASHRAE, and you're going to have to comply with that code. We have two ways of doing this. There's the prescriptive path and the performance path. In the prescriptive path, you're going to take the zone that you're in. We're in zone 2 here in the Houston map. Then we go to that zone and we go to that line of code that we have to be compliant to, and it shows us the R value of the roof and the R value of the walls. You'll notice here that it requires a CI in the wall insulation. That's continuous insulation, like foam board that's 4 foot by 8 foot foam to insulate the outside. We don't use that in metal building. Our frame is too far apart for that kind of board. So we're gonna have to go with the performance method. The performance method is ComCheck, and you're gonna have your architect run all of the details of your building through a computer program, and it's gonna spit out a pass or a fail, and he's gonna tell you, you need to be this R value to be compliant. Most of the time, that's R19 to R25 in the wall and R30 to R38 in the roof. The walls are easy. On the walls, R19 is the same as 6-inch, so a lot of times you can just use the basic metal building insulation, 6-inch over the purlins. If you have to go to R25 in the wall, they use a big solid scrim sheet. This is a big piece of the vinyl that covers up the framing, and then a complete total fill of the girt line behind it. The panels on the outside hold it into place, and there's some metal strapping on the inside. So there's a system there to get to R25. On the roof, when you do R30 or up to R45, you're going to accomplish that by using usually one of two basic systems. The long tab banded system has, let's say the space between the purlins is 5 feet. So the vinyl backer is 6 feet, and those extra long tabs are fastened to the top of the purlins so that it fills in the space. When you look up in that building, you see those sort of pillows of the white vinyl between the purlins. That system is held up across the purlins with metal straps, and on the top they put another layer of insulation, and that's pinched in by the roof panels. That'll get you to your R30 up to R40 something. If when you're doing a standing seam roof, there's a lot of strapping and things in the roof, and the long tab banded is not the highest performer. In those cases, you go to the energy saver system. It's a little bit more expensive. It has the metal straps run in both directions underneath it, and it starts with a solid scrim sheet that stretched out and fastened to the building on the bottom of the purlins. This is actually a fall system for if the workers fell during erection, that this system would catch them. Once that vinyl is underneath the purlins, they then fill in the top with unfaced bats, and then another layer over the purlins, and then the roof panels pinch it all into place. This is really the premier system. The long tab banded is $2, give or take, a square foot on the roof area. The energy saver system is going to be more like $3 and $3.25 a square foot. So it's a little bit more expensive, but it's a higher performing system. Outside of these basic fiberglass metal building insulation systems, a lot of people ask about spray foam. Nothing wrong with spray foam, it works great. It's a little bit more expensive than fiberglass in most cases. The spray foam, there is open cell and closed cell. So be careful, make sure if you're paying for closed cell, that you're not getting open cell, because open has about half the R value of closed. Also, if you're doing a standing seam roof, got to be kind of careful with foam, because it can lock the roof in place and won't allow it to expand and contract. There's some strategies to mitigate that. We use another one of these scrim sheets on the top of the purlins, and then you can put roof panels on top of that and spray the foam from the underneath and isolate those two systems with a scrim sheet. So lastly, the foam doesn't look real attractive. It's just expanded foam and they spray it in there. So maybe it's more appropriate whenever you're going to use interior liners and you're not going to see it anymore. So there it is, folks. Those are all the basic insulation systems for your flex space. Thanks for listening. See you next time.